Hey everyone, welcome to Spiritual Journey. And my name is Colleen Jorgensen, and I'm your astrologer. And we're going to talk about this new moon on May the 30th in the sign of Gemini at 9 degrees 3 minutes. So, this new moon is set to arrive in the early hours of May 30th. On the Pacific Standard Time, it's 4:31 a.m. Central Standard Time and Mountain Standard Time, it's 5:31 a.m. On the Eastern Seaboard, it is 7:31 a.m. So in Europe, it's probably around 5 to 6 hours later in the day. So this new moon is in the sign of Gemini, and it is just sitting at that 9 degrees of Gemini and has just separated by one day from its sextile to Mars and Jupiter, who are conjunct right now in the sign of Aries. And it is also just separating from a connection it makes to Black Moon Lilith and Chiron in Cancer. So that is forming a semi-sextile. And so with this combination, because Mars and Jupiter are now going to head towards a square or 90 degrees away from Black Moon Lilith and Chiron. So all of this connection is kind of linked here, and it seems irrelevant. So at first glance, when you're first glancing at this chart, it really, aside from Mars and Jupiter, it really doesn't look like much is going on because the moon really isn't making any aspects to anything. And so it's kind of almost like a void new moon. And so we have to kind of sit with that to some degree to figure out if this new moon is actually going to have any real impact or if it's just all words and no action. So this new moon in Gemini is more pronounced than one would think. And the reason is, Gemini is kind of pulling it in two directions, or there's two possible directions that could be taken with this. Like one sacrificing over another, or a sacrificial energy that kind of pulls you really around and you really don't know if that's the right direction you should be going. So, a tale of two polarities, a tale of a decision that has to be made, and perhaps being stuck in that decision or that void space that this moon seems to be in. So the moon is important here because it stands in conjunction, almost exact, with the royal star of Aldebaran. Now, Aldebaran is a significant star because it is one of the royal stars of Persia, and it marked at the time as the spring equinox. So it is significant energy that comes about. So all of the royal stars were very bright stars in the sky way back in the day, and they actually were significant for navigational purposes. So this Aldebaran is the watcher of the East. It represents the Eastern energy, and it is believed, because of its position, to bring about or mark major events in the world, because it is years ago sitting at that 00 degree mark. So this star is called the eye of the bull, and it really is bullseye. You've hit the nail on the head. And it is governed by the Archangel Raphael, which is a real healing angel. And it is believed to be the element of air on the eastern horizon. However, many of people out there will disagree with me in some degree. Traditionally, some believe that the east is the element of fire, and it just depends which culture you are coming from, whether that is relevant to you or not. So it is important because the element of air does correspond with Gemini, and that on that rising sun or that eastern horizon, we do get the new light coming towards us and new beginnings or a new day. So this gives this moon a bit of a punch, having this big royal star sitting right there. And that it's not really making any aspect to anything else. So Aldebaran, according to Robson, is really good for business. As long as you are honorable, you have integrity, and you're credible in the business that you're doing, so that you're respected. If this is not the case, then it can produce real calamity and perhaps danger. So if your word is no good, then most likely you're going to get into a lot of trouble. And it used to be way back in the day that what you said was really important. You said it, you did it, and your word was as good as gold. It meant something in the business world back in the day. So it is favorable for domestic, public, and religious matters. And this could indicate new trends emerging or new ideologies coming about. It does mark the spring equinox. This does bring new growth and fresh starts. And because just the day before it connected through a sextile with Mars and Jupiter, who just ingressed into Aries, it does indicate that we're on a new path. A new conversation is about to begin. And what we believe is important can come up in contracts and negotiations and new business deals. And Bernadette Bradley states that when it's associated with the sun, it brings gain, success, it's respected, and a reputation is built on one's honesty. A person who will maintain honor and integrity at all cost. So you can't go back on your word. A deal is a deal is a deal with this new moon. A military event which can produce values for behavior is also indicated, because Mars is military, and we get this real energy with Mars and Jupiter together like they are. So with the moon, Aldebaran also ensures physical gifted talents, a love of nature, emotionally drawn to causes that one seems as noble and just. So environmental concerns and people needing to look after each other and the land. So conversational issues arise around these issues. And it's interesting that we have this combination of Black Moon, Lilith, and Chiron together, and that this new moon just associated with them, because we do in the United States have issues surrounding Roe versus Wade and women's independent rights for their right to abortion or right to their own body, and determining what happens with their own body. So that is an interesting concept that is kind of plugging into this new doctrine that is being announced really with this new moon. So the energy of Gemini is a dual sign, two perspectives, two ways of looking at things, lots of information, and then trying to decipher out that information. So it can produce this anxiousness to explore new options through investigating those terms and conditions or those interests and learning new information. So this is the media. It is public viewpoints. And it is the anxiousness to tell one's story. So it's a bit of a gossip if one gets carried away with the telling of the tale. So this new moon can produce new information and new directives, perhaps new perspectives and viewpoints of interest. And we can redirect here. We can change our minds because that's how Gemini functions. All of a sudden, we get new information and we go, oh, okay. So, yeah, I can see your point. So we're anxious to find out more. And, a cause begins to develop here that everyone kind of latches onto, and a conversation or people begin to converse about this new cause. But we're scattered, we're disorganized, we're pulled in several different directions, and there could be too much going on all at one time. Yet we are inspired to get out of our houses. We're inspired to explore our neighborhoods, our communities, and we're beginning to want to engage once again and have a new conversation. So this is a grand moon for networking, marketing, and producing the written word. This sign is excellent at becoming what it needs to become in the moment. It is like a chameleon that shows one side, but perhaps not the other. And it shows people what they want to see, what they want to hear, not necessarily who that individual is. So it can get a bit confusing if you're taking that person literally as they're representing their belief systems, when in fact, what they can be doing is just reflecting your own belief systems back to you. So this can produce a struggle of identity if you don't recognize that this is going on, and the shadow side of ourselves that we're not familiar with can begin to emerge. Identity problems or problems, people have problems with you, that you are not saying exactly what you believe in. And because of that, it can get really tangled in some sort of confusion. And it can almost seem as though it's a lie, or that this individual is lying. So do be cautious with that, because the person may simply just be reflecting something back to you to give you a different perspective. Not that that person believes in that. So this can cause problems. So the sign is excellent, though, to discovering new topics and new beliefs. It's the salesman. It's the person who wants to express themselves to you about what you need to make your life better. So the journalist, gathering information, creating a storyline within our lives. And why wouldn't we believe what we are told? why wouldn't we believe what is put out in the media? And so it's important with Gemini to be discerning and to figure out if that actually is truth or not. However, that is Virgo's dominion, to be discerning, to figure out what is trash and what is actual fact. Geminis just like to get the information out there to you. So we can develop a new ideology from what we hear or what we're told, and a new strategy, perhaps new contacts, agreements are formed, and it's refreshing. So the separating sextile between the new moon and Mars-Jupiter conjunction certainly pushes us to begin anew and fresh. So the day before marked the pivotal point in the energetic flow as Mars jumps out of Pisces this week and jumps into Aries, his own dominion. We can now take action. We can now move ahead with our plans. So our courage begins to build here, and it inspires us to launch a new crusade of our beliefs and what we wanted to do or had planned to do for quite some time, but we just never got around to it. We just never had the energy, or we just never had the options or availability to do that. You know, Mars and Jupiter come together really as a crusade, as a military crusade, for what one believes in. And so it's a strong dynamic that one is really willing to expand and take the risk in order to move that agenda forward. So it's really passionate in the stance of truth and honor, perspective, and our principles. You know, Jupiter and Mars together always remind me of the Knights Templars, or King Arthur's Round Table, where men are fighting for a cause or a crusade or a truth of what they actually believe to be the right thing to do. So this combination together with that new moon can actually launch us into one of these missions, I guess you could say. It can become arrogant in the belief that we stand for the truth, therefore we are better than somebody else. And you're either on my side or you're not on my side, which is Gemini. You're there or you're over here. So it's really can get mixed up in innuendos and pushing our lives through doctrine or what we're being told. So it is the dawning perhaps of a new truth, or a new interest, or a new trend, but it is also the hero emerges. New ventures are launched here because Mars and Jupiter are in the sign of Aries, and we have the fixed sign of Aldebaran sitting right there with this new moon. So it is also just before this, even if we don't know it, that just a couple hours later, after Mars and Jupiter have connected with the moon has connected with Mars and Jupiter, that we have the moon engaging with Black Moon Lilith and Chiron. So this really pushes our agenda forward in a big way through engagements which are bold and direct and challenging. Black Moon Lilith is energy that does not want to adhere to the demands of what other people are telling her to do. She wants to go her own way and discover her own path. And this is where we can get into perhaps crusades, mobs, people taking to the street over those belief systems, especially women's rights issues. And so people can really get passionate and against those that they feel are against them. So Chiron is the healer. Chiron is also the deep wound, and old wounds that are coming to the surface. And Roe versus Wade certainly is one of those old, deep wounds that are coming to the surface. And there is lots of energy funneled into that because of all the complications that arise through that Roe versus Wade, and the new laws that are being enacted in various states in the United States. So it does impact Canada as well, because if that comes to fruition in the United States, we can see more people coming or seeking refuge in Canada for those services. So this Chiron is personal, and perhaps to heal a family wound, perhaps to heal women's issues or issues surrounding women and their issues. So a deep disagreement or perhaps a better understanding for resolutions. And the semi-sextile does give us hope that we are going to produce growth, if nothing else. So Mercury is ruling this moon energy, and Mercury is bisexual. Mercury can be both female and male. In this case, she is female, and she is deep into her retrograde station and heading back from whence she came on April 26th. So we could still be dealing with affairs from the end of April, and we could be clearing up and finishing up the tail ends of various projects that we want to get off our desks, and we want to get them moving forward so we can start something else. So our review certainly is in progress in Taurus. We are looking to clear out what is not necessary. We are ground into things we love and tackling projects that seem worth the effort. So many of these efforts are focused on relationships and our financial viability. Because of Mercury's retrograde, and this is a new moon, it's almost like, what did I get myself into? What did I agree to in April that I really don't want to do? And should I be renegotiating my position on this? Or how should I be handling this new train of thought? So the danger here with Mercury is he is sitting precisely on the fixed star of Algol. And what is even more sort of astonishing, because Mercury is ready to station direct in the early part of June, like June 4th, June 3rd in some areas. So what is happening is Mercury is really, really slow. And Mercury is going to sit on this degree in connection with the fixed star of Algol for quite some time. And so that is what seems to be a little distressing to some degree. So we have Mercury sitting at 26 degrees come May 29th, just before this new moon. And Mercury stays at this degree until June 7th, And then he just moves 1 degree to 27 degrees, which is still in connection with this fixed star of Algol. And this is a very prominent star. So we're going to have a lot of influence right up until the 9th of June. And that is really significant because Algol is considered to be the evilest star in the heavens. And it is Medusa's head. And it literally means the head of the beast. And the decapitation of that head as they're holding Medusa's head because her hair is snakes, and they have to kill this. It's like having to rescue some damsel from certain peril by slaying the dragon. Or it's interesting that in Talmudic law, Algol is the first wife of Adam, who was Black Moon Lilith, who is very engaging with this new moon, or had been just prior to the new moon. And so Black Moon Lilith refused. She was the first wife of Adam, and she refused to submit or comply with the demands of her husband. And so she fled, and she became the demon of the wind. And she is a curse, and she curses, and she causes difficulties, extreme difficulties. So according to Robson, Algol causes misfortune, violence, decapitation, hanging, electrocution, and mob violence. It is of a violent nature, being the most evil star in the heavens. And Algol here is sort of like Mercury gives a new directive at this new moon, that there is a new protocol, there is a new decree put forth, like there is no quarter. So when they announced that there would be no quarter, it was basically kill them all, give no mercy. And in the Chinese, this Algol is about a pile of corpses. And so it is a little bit discerning and concerning that this big star is influencing this new moon. In connection to Mercury, if Algol is connected, according to Bernadette Bradley, it's an indication of forthright, empathic, emotionally pondering energy. In fact, we are stuck with a decision or a direction that we need to go, but we don't know what that looks like. And so we have a tendency to brood and be possessive of others or controlling of others. So this definitely is passionate, intense orators who can really convince you of something, even if it isn't necessarily the truth. And also with Mercury on Algol, we can find that we're cutting people off in mid-sentence. We're just not allowing them to speak. We don't want to listen to their opinions, or that what they're saying is disturbing us. So we kind of want to chop them off at the throat. Just stop talking. And so these can be aggressive, ill-tempered, a bit of intolerance, lacking patience, and harsh expressions like, be quiet, I'm done talking. So orders, and more orders. Venus, of course, Venus to me has been really setting the stage all the way since last year. And I've mentioned that on several occasions, because she always seems to be the last one standing, or the last one that's influencing everything else. And the same as this, she is the last one. She is ruling Mercury, and she is coming out. She's just stepped into her new dominion of Taurus, which she rules. So she feels very comfortable. And she's just has just separated from the planet of Pluto just prior to her stepping into Taurus. So this also is like a struggle in many ways when she squared off with Pluto at the end of just a couple days before the new moon. And so this says to me, we have to let something go. Something needs to end. Something needs to be finished up and die. It may be a slow death, a slow removal of these things, and they could be influencing relationships or financial matters that you have been dealing with for a long time. So that square, Venus square Pluto, which was initiated on March the 4th to the 6th, the conjunction. And so remember back what was happening in March in order to kind of figure out what that all means. As she launches herself into her own sign, this really bodes better for us financially. And with the Pluto energy, we could have been like throwing our hands in the air and saying, let's just claim bankruptcy. Debts seem to be paramount and of interest, and the debt load that we're holding, both in government or corporations. So she will next sextile Black Moon Lilith and Chiron. And so that sextile is promoting a positive stance on how we can heal through exercising your own personal agenda and not folding into the realms of obedience or submission necessarily, because Black Moon Lilith probably will not do that. She wants to make a stand. She wants to make her opinion known. She wants to say, I have a mind. I have free thought, and I have individuality. So even though this new moon appears at first glance like there is not much going on, kind of void, a little bit about obsessions or new ventures or lots going on, it is deeper than one would really imagine it to go. So try to be discerning if you can, or just sit on the information that you're receiving before you make any decisions. And that certainly is apparent with Mercury in retrograde. Don't make any decisions just yet. Wait until you figure it out. And that decision could happen on June 22nd, when Mercury will land at 9 degrees on this new moon energy fixed point. So if you're looking to do any type of manifestation, witchcraft, or just spells of any kind, this new moon is really good, of course, for launching a new ideology or launching a new perspective. So if you find that you're really stuck into something, that your mind is just going 100 miles an hour trying to figure something out, this is the perfect moon to break that pattern and to do some cursing, Maybe you want to do some cursing. What did they say? The best curses in the world are the Irish. And maybe you want to do some chanting because this is all about the words. This is a really good moon to start affirmations. It's really good for word magic. And if you're doing candle magic, just write what you desire on the candle and just burn it on this new moon. Maybe you want to write something. So if you are writing a spell or you want something to happen in your life, if you want something to happen or you want to bring something towards you, then begin to fold the paper towards you after you have written out what it is that you desire. And keep folding that paper towards you. If you want to get rid of something in your life, please fold the paper away from you. Even if you're ripping the paper, you want to rip the paper away from you if you want to get rid of something. You want to rip it towards you if you are looking to bring something in your direction. And so words are very, very powerful, and they go out into the Akashic and they just float around until something grabs them. Ideas float around, all kinds of things float around in the air. And so do be careful. Please don't cause any harm to anyone. I prefer protections energy rather than direct push out energy against somebody. So it's up to you, though. You're the master of your own ship. And just remember that we do have some karma coming towards us in the next little while. So be cautiously aware of that. So I bid you farewell. I hope that I will see you again in the near future. And please follow me on Spiritual Journey on Facebook. I'd love to have you along. We do lots of stuff there. Join Sacred Circle. Maybe you want to do some courses in psychic intuitive development or some meditation. And then again, maybe you just want to follow me for some astrology highlights, which always occurs at the end of the month. So I'll chat with you then, and I'll see you on the flip side. Bye-bye.